If you've been having a wild and crazy week, if you've been having dreams, if you've been feeling weird, if all of your exes have been calling you lately, this is exactly what's supposed to happen. And Astro Monday, we're going to explain why. We talked about this last week coming out of the full moon. And if you've been feeling weird and not yourself, there is a reason for that. So come on in. And as you come in, I want you to put down there a comment. Comment what your sun, your moon, your rising is. And let's get this party started. I mean, it has been just an incredible week. It has been a crazy week. And I want to know how you've been feeling specifically. So put down there your sun, your moon, your rising, and let me know how you've been feeling. And we'll be joining us with Mr. Christopher Witecki here shortly. Daddy G. Yes. Sag Sun, Cat Moon. That's me. Sag Sun, Cat Moon, Gemini Rising. But I'm not Gemini Rising. Scorpio Moon and Pisces Moon. Yeah, and also over here, send this out to a friend, hit a bunch of likes. Give me a bunch of likes over here. Taurus Moon, Aquarius Moon. Aqua Sun, Aqua Moon, Cancer Rising. Whoa, we got double doubles all over the place here today. Hey, Mish. It's St. Patrick's Day. Man, you know what? I don't even know what, I know it's step 27. I don't know what day now I know it's 18th, March 18th. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, please give me a bunch of likes down there. And then let's bring up Christopher Witecki. Where is he? Waiting for Christopher Witecki. Yeah, how have you been? First of all, how was the moon for you guys? The full moon, the eclipse, Mercury went into retrograde. Anybody have any issues with that? Put down there that you had issues. What's been going on? Libra Sun, Cancer Moon, Leo Rising. 27 Pisces Sun. You're having a fun day today, right? Today's your day. You're feeling charged, like you're taking action. Yes. Lots of likes. Exhausting. Yeah. You know, I'm in Tepoztlan, Mexico. It's like a portal, kind of like Sedona. And it has been, I can't distinguish what is the astrology and what is this place. Like that right behind me is a mountain. There's a whole bunch of mountains around here. Chopped off the top of my finger. Ow. Which finger was it? Wow, that's gotta hurt. I guess you can't put your finger on it. Gotta laugh at these things. No chemicals there. No, I haven't seen any. Jump the timeline, Leo Sun, Scorpio Moon. Yeah, no chemtrails. Generally, we have had no chemtrails in even Cancun, and then every once in a while, this seems to spray, like heavily during like spring break. I think it's because they're dosing everybody in America, and they can't go a week or two without their dose of medication, so they've got to bring that dose down there, and then they let it go. It's not there anymore. There's Christopher Witecki. He's here. Go live with. Yeah, it's super beautiful here. That's a mountain. There's a palapa over there. There's a pool. Yeah, this place is where they done. Hey, Christopher.
Hola, hola, amigo. How are you?
I'm in a vortex too.
Yes, a vortex. Yes, I feel it too. You feel it?
Yeah,
Do you feel the changes
I'm
this
also in
weekend?
Tepoztlan, Mexico.
Oh
Tepoztlan,
yeah.
Mexico.
Oh, interesting. And how's Tepoztlan,
By the way,
Mexico treating
we
you?
have a delay. We have a delay here.
Okay,
So we'll just be conscious of that when we're talking.
sure. I'm used to a delay with you, Gary. Just kidding. Yeah.
I want to say that the moon, when the moon came itself, literally that night, I was walking from my room to the kitchen area, and I almost fell in the pool. I felt like I was drunk. I could barely even stand, and it felt like I was drugged or drunk. And of course, like all my exes been calling,
Mm.
and that's just not relationships. I mean, this is like people I've done business with, people from the past that I had relationships with in different ways. Everybody's been reaching out weirdly lately, and I know that's part of what energy we're in. So why don't we talk about what's happened from this moon forward?
Okay, so we had a lunar eclipse, a full lunar eclipse at degrees Virgo, and, and this eclipse happened Friday morning, very early Friday morning, and through the weekend carried itself out. So it takes a couple days to carry itself out. So eclipses are not 1 day events; they're really 6 day events. There's like 3 days of prep and then 3 days to follow. So this is the final day of the follow. Today, I think you'll find that you'll be taking action that reflects the eclipse and the changes it made. What it ultimately did was, destroy plans for the future. So if you had certain plans for the future that were incorrect, those plans collapsed, and will collapse, continue to. If you had plans that were correct, those plans would be maybe fortified or affirmed, energetically. And this is the beginning of the destruction of what we now look at as reality itself. So human consciousness and the way we conceive reality is collapsing. And now collapse is an appropriate word because reality is not designed to fall apart. It's designed to stay together. So when it does change, it's kind of like messy, and somewhat destructive and somewhat bombastic and sometimes a little emotional. So, there's some drama element to this, but there's also some savior element. The North Node in Pisces, which today the Sun is conjoining. So today the Sun conjoins the North Node. That's a big deal. That's a course corrector and an amplifier. So I'm looking at the nodes now as a kind of like a Gulf Stream current of consciousness. It sort of is where consciousness is blowing from tail to forward. And so we're caught in that Gulf Stream today. We're caught in that trade wind. And so today, you're either going to get like, if you're way at the bottom where you're supposed to be, your car is going to spin off the road. If you are, at the top, your car is going to speed up, as a result. And what's being happening is you're being catapulted, which is a good word, toward your predetermined spiritual destiny, which was decided by you between lifetimes. So ultimately, that eclipse was the destruction of the old timeline and the putting you on the course or speeding up your course of the new one.
So, practically, when you talk about that, because a lot of people, they're still trying to get their idea what a timeline looks
Okay.
like or what a timeline shift looks like. Why don't you just tell everybody in your idea what does when you're shifting a timeline, what does it feel like? What's the experience?
Okay. So a timeline, think about when you're in fourth grade. You know, life was so weird. It tasted weird. Reality and what was normal was everything was just defined differently when you're in fourth grade. That was a different timeline. So timelines are sort of chapters in space-time consciousness. They're chapters that we live. And the reason why I call them a timeline is because of the way they're constructed in the fourth dimension. They are constructed in a sequentially based line. So nothing in reality. There's no such thing as time. There's no such thing as before or after, right? So what they do in heaven is they create a series of destined events that then create a line. You add the dots together, it creates a line. That line represents the progression and understanding of the soul. And so a timeline is basically a stitched line that forces you through a series of events that lead you to an outcome of understanding who you are. So we have a variety of timelines, and these timelines are chosen by you, both ultimately in heaven, and then affirmed here on earth. Like you go ahead and accept the ride or you don't accept the ride. And if you don't accept the timeline, then there's another timeline that's waiting for you if you don't accept. So really everything in your life is pre-planned with the option to choose the last minute another timeline. So the way it feels
Right.
is you no longer feel like yourself completely. So there's a part of yourself that's tied to the time because the timeline is operating at a certain frequency or a certain altitude. So when you change timelines, you change altitudes or trajectories. And so you feel like a shift of space time itself. You feel a little out of your body. You feel a little out of touch with who you are. Just like when you fly in an airplane and your ears plug up, you kind of feel a little stuffy. I mean, like your awareness isn't very like attuned. You're kind of in your own bubble a little bit. There's a lot of symbolism that happens. So during that timeline shift, you'll see just whatever you see, whether it's 3 license plates with a star on it, or you see a lot of symbols from yourself to yourself. letting yourself know you're okay. Keep your hands and feet in at all times. Put your oxygen mask on yourself first. Like there's a lot that sort of stuff that happens from your higher self. Um, and you just feel sort of timeless. You feel timeless in that moment of shifting timelines. So you just kind of feel like you don't know what time
So
it is, you know what day it is, you don't know where you are.
one of the things that happens to me when I know I'm shifting a timeline is for a moment I feel kind of a little lost.
Yes, that's
And
a good way to put it.
it's kind of like, yeah, I feel a little lost. Like, am I in the right place? Am I in the right time? Am I doing the right thing? And because
Yes.
my experience is I'm reorientating to that new timeline, and I have to grasp. It's kind of like popping your head out of a hole, looking around. Okay, where am I? Okay, the house is over there. The car moved from over there to over there, and then I grab it.
Yes. You've lost context. Well, your timeline is your context, and your context
Sure.
is how you know where everything is by the context. So, you know, you're right. When you feel that way, you're correct. You don't know where you are, and you don't know where you're going. You're in between. Like,
So,
that's true. You're
Chris,
actually sensing the truth.
one of the things that
Good.
I use to explain to people, like when I'm trying to explain time, I'll give them an experience. So, like, I'll ask you the question, and people pretend I'm asking you the question. Chris, do you remember the first time that you kissed a girl?
Yes. Good.
Was it day or night?
Day.
What month of the year was it?
April or May.
Is it summer? So May, so
Yeah.
springish.
Yeah, around my
And how
birthday.
old are you?
5.
How old are you?
5.
How do you know you were 5?
Because I said to her, she had asked me how old I was just a minute before.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, in the
So
memory.
basically, what I say is time. We don't have time. We have experiences in which time moves through it. This is the way
Right.
I explain it.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is that time is it keeps. We have an experience. You remember? I remember kissing somebody. I
Hmm.
remember all these events around it. And how I know where I was in space and time is this fictitious timeline. I need a reference point. How old was I? I was in grade 1. It was the year
Mm-hmm.
before I started, or I just graduated college. So this is how our memory system works. Our memory system of time, it takes an experience, and then it looks around that experience for a reference point. That reference point is I was in college, I was doing this, and that's how people describe time.
Hmm.
And the reason why this is so important is because we don't technically have time, we have experiences. And then we arbitrarily put time to the experience.
Yes, the markers. Yeah, we have little markers that mark it up. Yeah, I agree. Hmm. Identify the timeline. So yeah, so we're so with all that definition, we were between timelines until today. Today, you ought to be integrated. By the time you go to bed, you'll be integrated with your new timeline. Or, yeah, you'll be in a new timeline regardless. You'll either be on the
So
one you planned or one was the backup.
so I have another way to reference time for people that are looking at it. So in the flow of the universe is timeless. There is no time.
Mhm.
So time is, in order to make time, we have to actually mark a point, and then we have to mark another point on that line, that flow. So when we create 2 points, that point creates a judgment, because in that piece of time I see
Mhm.
this. And then, but it doesn't show the whole picture. It's in a judgment or a summary of that block of time.
Mm.
So what I say to people is time itself creates judgment, and judgment in our reality creates a reaction. So the more time that the more that we count time, the more reaction that we get in our universe against us, usually because judgment is a negative, creating a negative reaction.
Yes, I mean, is it always a judgment though? I mean, not to argue with you, but like, I feel like as you mature as a soul, it becomes an assessment or an observation. Um,
Yeah,
but
well, but if you're attributing time to something, you're automatically judging it, because judgment is you're saying it happened here and here,
because it's
and whether
closed.
you associate or whatever, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
so you're limiting the scope of that
Hmm.
flow, because like for say to say something was good or to say something was bad, that's a judgment.
That's correct.
And if I go and what seems bad today, 30 years
Right.
from now, may be actually good.
Right.
So they arbitrarily, so when we make a judgment, we make it based upon time, because outside of time, it's all good. It's all what it
Right.
was supposed to
It
be.
is. It all
So
is. Yeah.
anytime we, yeah. So that's why I link time and judgment. And the more we count time, the more we get stuck in these yucky feelings and situations and things that we have to work through. So the people that are always counting time, they always have shit to work through. The people who aren't, like the Pisces of the world, who don't even know what time is, they're floating around, just things seem to flow for them and things happen.
Yes. And Saturn is the ruler of time, and Saturn is the ruler of judgment, both.
Yes.
So, or Capricorn. So,
Yeah. And I was going to say the opposite, being Capricorn, who are like counting time and they always got shit to work through.
but they're always judging too, like crazy. You're late. You're not running efficiently. I'm not far enough. I'm not big enough. I'm not rich enough. There's always a judgment with them.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good little synopsis of time, because I really think we talk about these concepts and we talk about it all the time.
Mm.
But a lot of people listening, for years, I used to hear you say, jump a timeline. And I'm like, what does he mean? How does
Mm.
that work?
Mm.
What does
Mm.
it feel like? And if we can give people references and they start using that language, like, hey, we just jumped a
Yes.
timeline, then it becomes more of a language that people can. Now, somebody said here, Rakasan, said, "What happens if you fail your plan?" That's a really good question.
You don't fail anything ever. There's no
Right,
failure in the
right,
universe. So for that's the first
correct.
thing. There's no such word as fail in heaven. You opted out is what happened. You opted out of the primary goal, and so now you're on to a secondary timeline that was also pre-planned. So you probably don't remember that's what that secondary timeline means, but most likely it means the beginning of decay. So when you're not doing your primary plan, you're starting to exit out. So it's the
Yeah.
beginning of your exit. It literally is the beginning of your exit. So because
So
you agreed to come here and do certain timelines. As soon as you get off those timelines, you're still learning. We're going to make the most of the experience, but you're basically starting to exit out of the story altogether.
one of the things that I say to people, another one, clarification that I like to give to people, is that when they're um, when we're oh shit, I forgot. Go ahead.
Okay.
That
Uh,
that went in and out.
that's escape. That must have been on the other timeline. You're just like that was taken back to it. Someone says their Saturn's at 29 degrees Capricorn. That's interesting information.
Oh,
Yeah, that would mean that you have the potential to alter timelines. So you have the power to alter timelines. Basically, it's Saturn 29, and alter other people's
so with Saturn
timelines too.
at 29, you could alter timelines. What would that look like? How would they know that they did it? That's another good one. How
Um,
how would they do it?
you would do it by by working up your feelings and your energy to the frequency of the telephone number or frequency of the next time of another timeline. So the 9 to the 2 is the response to your own feelings. You get yourself hyped up or hyped down into a net 11. So 29
Mhm.
net 11 is what things become, and then what affirms of what they become is how it feels in the end. So basically, so in other words, it's like this. It's like, let's say your timeline is to get married to your husband, and you're a Saturn 29. You start upsetting yourself so much over and over again that the new reality is you're upset in this marriage. And you always feel that too upset in this marriage. You will alter the timeline. Now you're not married to that person. Through emotion is the answer. So it's always through emotion. Emotion is your energy in motion, all your energy in motion, and so you alter that energy to blow in a different direction or a different way. You trade the wind.
So
You basically change the wind.
So you always say to me that free will is what you decide when you're in heaven. So free will on earth, would that look like accepting the plan that I already had?
Correct.
So if I created a plan in heaven to say, this is my plan, if I accept it, that's my free will. If I don't accept it, I shift the timeline and then I start to decay.
Yes. Yes. There's. I know there's sometimes there's a Sometimes you have an alternate timeline that does not decay. Sometimes you do. It's rare, but sometimes you do. And that's usually because you're picking up a stop along the way. So it's like, for instance, it's like I can marry Bob now. I can marry my high school sweetheart now, or I can go ahead and go to college without him, or I'll meet Jason, who was a past life lover that I've been meaning to get with for a few thousand years now. And so I'll go ahead and have an affair with Jason and then go back to Bob when I graduate. Those do not decay. Those are just like, how much do you want to eat? You know, how much do you want to digest in this one life? I see those sometimes in
Yeah,
my
that would be
clients'
like
charts.
taking extra credits. That'd
Yes,
be like taking extra credits in school.
correct. Yes. So you're
Yeah,
choosing the right
yeah.
timeline, or you're going off the timeline for a minute, but you plan to come back on. Like it's like an aside, like a little hiatus too.
Okay, so we got some basic principles out. I feel good about
Yeah.
that because these are always questions that people ask, and we talk about it at will. And sometimes people are like, yeah, they kind of shake their head like they acknowledge, but they don't really.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this week coming up. Today's at 27 degrees. So anybody's at 27 degree, probably feeling like pretty connected in their life right now. But we have Mercury in retrograde, Saturn hit us. We've got the full moon eclipse. So what is it? What does it look like this week going forward?
Well, this week is actually still the launch of this timeline. So today you're like today the ship starts to go, you know, in the in the new direction, right or wrong. Keep in mind the south node is destruction. So if you go south, if you head south, you're going towards destruction. Um, so tomorrow is step 28. Tomorrow is when you have when you have to sort of materialize this. You make this into the material. You want to materialize this and manifest this into the real, right? So 28 is the holding of space to for it to all become real. 29 is when it becomes real, right? Everything becomes 29 is the state of becoming. So things become real in 29, and then 0, we shift gears to a you could say subtimeline or sub lesson, which is Aries, the I am consciousness. Now, the big thing about Aries this year is that the ego has been officially retired, as far as God is saying, and that what that is like the primal ego that is designed for fight or flight, the ego that is willing to kill if necessary, the ego that is will take unnecessary risk for the purpose of survival. Basically, that cop and robber ego is no longer available on the shelf. So if you're a new soul and you incarnate an Aries 0, you actually cannot have the fight or flight ego. It's not available.
Right.
It doesn't exist anymore. It's extinct. Now, extinct means that God is no longer giving source energy to it. So because there's no source energy, the only way to keep it alive is for you to use your reserves to keep it alive. Because God's not going to keep
So that
it
app
alive
is no
automatically.
longer available in the App Store and not supported.
So if the app breaks down, you've got to fix it. You've got to make it work. It's not being serviced anymore. And some people will go ahead and fix it and keep that antique around, right? I mean, I think a lot of people are going to keep the antique around. I think they're going to find that they're drained, that their body dies faster, that they decay faster. They just, because they're diverting energy that's supposed to go to something else, something that's now, expired. It's no longer carried as a experience of Earth anymore. You can no longer on Earth experience the baboon, throw shit, kill each other ego. So the rest of us have to convert and build the new ego, which at Serious Joy we call the we-go, because it's about us going now, not just my ego going, the me-go or the ego, just me, the me-go. It's about we going forward. So this ego, from what I can see, my third eye is a pluralistic ego. It's an ego that considers I and, right? It's not just I. Now that can be I and I, which is kind of schizophrenic at that point. You're creating two competing personalities inside yourself. So you're on the way to multipersonal disorders right there, but personality disorder. But for the most part, it means that it's always considering another in any move it makes. It's kind of like quantum computers always considers two more bits with every process, right?
I was going to
So
make a Gemini joke, but I got hit by a bunch of Geminis saying we weren't being fair to Geminis. Yes, last couple of weeks.
we're very fair to Gemini. So you guys, we've just
I
been
love
quiet all this
Geminis.
time.
They're all my favorite. I love Gemini. I have them all around me. They're the best for me to spark off of, to relate to. So all you Geminis out there, I love you, and you help me immensely. And why I like joking with you is because I give a shit about you.
Mm. Yeah, I love Geminis. I mean, I love them, but they're in a growth point and they're resisting. So
I got direct messages.
Oh, did you? That's funny. Yeah, I had those too. I was like, why do you hate the da da da's? It's like, who did you date that was a da da da? It's just like nobody. I'm equal opportunity, insulter. I mean, everyone gets insulted by me. Everyone. So don't worry, everyone's turn.
On my
But
trip to the Philippines, by the way, I hadn't met this before, but I have one. I've in my group I got two twin 29-degree Geminis, and I met two more 29-degree Geminis
mm,
and twins, and two more twin sets, and I'm like, man, it's so funny because they literally they don't even act like other twins. They're the same and they're different at the same moment. It's bizarre.
yeah, it is. It's like twins. Literally like twins. If you know twins, it's like it is a wild. It's really wild to see nature working in like you know, in dualism. You have two. Yeah. So this week is about you know final test of you're launching this new spiritual timeline, and you have to hold it together in 2029. So you have to sort of consciously hold yourself together until the glue dries, right? So and then zero is when the glue starts to dry, and at that point zero this year is a zero, absolute zero, new day, completely new day with either the old karma, the old ego that's going to start to decay, or the foundation of a new ego. Now, which ego are you getting? You chose that with the timeline. So it's
Right.
like, can I have an old timeline and a new ego? No, it's not available in that timeline. It's not available. It's like
So
only
that so
available in the new
on
timelines.
so on uh on Wednesday it's 29, on Thursday it's 0. So on Friday people are going to, this is where, like, what does my heart want, and following that, and this whole thing is because Aries is a lot of ego. It's going to be an interesting Aries. Like, do you feel into that, or
Yeah,
is this like,
no,
I don't even know what it's going to
it's a
feel
lot
like.
of conflict. I don't know. My first of all, this is when I feel the year heating up. So, excuse me, the year is going to really heat up in the month of Aries because you have a variety of. First of all, you have a lot of traffic, okay? Because people are confused, right? Like, if they chose the old timeline, the old ego, what are all these flying cars doing in this house? Like, some of the cars are flying and they're not flying. Why am I not flying? So there, I think there's an observation that people are getting passed by, like suddenly. Like, and what that feels like is suddenly you just don't matter to people. That's, and I don't want people to feel bad about it, but that's how it works. Like, you're just not in the awareness anymore. They're not considering you in their awareness because you're not in the cast of the new timeline. And so they're just not calling, or they're just not paying attention like they used to. And so it appears though people have like really changed all of a sudden. It's like, Garry, you've changed. This isn't the way you are, you know, those kind of conversations. And so that's the person that's like, oh, you took the timeline. I didn't, because otherwise it'd be like, oh my God, isn't life exciting? You'll be on the same page if you're in the same timeline. We're talking about
Right.
global, like we're talking about trunk timelines. Like trunk timelines are like, the core, the foundation that everyone. So there's a trunk timeline, which is that everyone shares this base like line, which is where the
Mhm.
world goes, and then from there they vary it off of that trunk, right?
Well,
So
it's the tree and the branch. The branches are
yeah.
it's off the same tree, but we got all the branches, and then and then you got the leaves that are on there, and all I'll do is look at people and say, I can't believe you're on that timeline.
That's really deep. That's really deep. Yeah, but it's good though. I like it. Yeah, I can't believe you are either, Garry. But so there's trunks. So basically, you're gonna find that
Leave me alone.
if you're on a different trunk than your friend, it's gonna feel like um that they're you might feel it's the way you interpret according to your story. So if you're always ignored by your mother, you're interpreting it that way, that she's ignoring me. If you've always been like if you've always been like picked on by your father. It's like this person's picking on me. Like I'll start to apply your negative storylines in the old trunk to them being in a new trunk without you.
Right.
That's usually what I see happen. Yeah. So now if you're in the same trunk, like I am with some friends like you, it's like, holy shit, man, this new trunk is awesome. Like, like I can't wait, which is where I've been. Like I've been seeing the new trunk for a long time, so I see it. It's become more clear in the last 45 days. And what's become clear is like that trunk I've been dreaming about my whole life, and so
Hmm.
I'm excited because I'm finally here. I've made it. I'm here. I'm to where I'm so basically what kept me going the whole time was this trunk. If this trunk wasn't here,
Right.
I would not have cared or tried hard. Like
Right.
so
Yeah. It's
yeah,
that feeling that guided us all those years, even when things didn't seem like they were right.
correct. Absolutely. It kept me going during those times. Like, kept me swimming to understand why I was where I was in the story. So what happens is at zero, we craft the new, the new Wego is born. Step one is when the king is sort of crowned in the new Wego. So like your heart moves in on Friday, like, yeah, this is cool. There's a new digs, a new car. Like it's like getting a brand new car. So the heart kind of starts to feel that out. And then this weekend on Saturday, it's I feel. And so this is where you sort of like, start to feel my experiences, and we'll see how it is this time, but suddenly you just feel you feel a little smaller. Okay. You feel smaller. Why is that? Because your timeline got bigger. So
Right.
so you feel smaller. It's a weird thing. It's like you feel like like you're in front of the giants, well, suddenly. And so things feel maybe much bigger than you sometimes, or sometimes you feel like things are just too big, too hard, too far. Like, oh, I don't, sometimes people like, oh my God, my goals are just too far away. And it's like, no, your space time perception has shifted. You're the same size, but now the world's bigger. And the world is bigger because it needs more space for more consciousness. So God has allocated more hard drive space to it.
Hmm.
Right? There's more drive space. And so because there's more drive space, if you're a sentient being, um, you can sense that suddenly there's more space, which in relation to the only thing which is you can think it as you're smaller or there's more space. One of the two, right?
I also find for us in the health business,
Mm,
being body, physical health business and stuff like that, Aries is an accelerated month. It's like one of the
mm,
people buy the most products. They take action the most, and it seems to start on on that 1 degree Aries or 2 degree Aries.
hmm. Indeed. And Aries is the like, let's go, let's go, let's go. What's funny about Aries is it's the ninth step. And that means that there are 8 steps to accomplish, really 9 to accomplish before you do take any action. Most of the world goes from to 1 to 5 to 9, 159, 159, 159, 159. It's like my heart
I
wants it.
love. I think I act.
Yep.
Yeah,
Or I love I act. A lot of people skip think. You
that
know.
was me. I love I act, and then I love feel and act, and then steps. The steps 3 through 8 didn't get acknowledged, and I can go back and everything that I manifested that failed. I can go back and I can look at where using your step system. I can go back and look at where it failed. And now, even now, sometimes I'll be doing something. We'll be on a new manifestation. I go, whoa, wait a second here. Something's not working right now. It's feeling fuzzy because it started off like this program was rolling really
Hmm.
good, but then I'm starting to get all this friction. And I'm like, what step did we miss?
Yes.
Oh, we stepped step 6, receive. And that so we didn't get feedback from everybody else. And now we're getting feedback from everybody, and it's like doesn't feel good.
Right. Nor are you getting money because you didn't. So the project doesn't make any money because you didn't receive. And so when you
Yeah.
manifest by skipping steps, what you manifest is missing those steps too. So,
So people should know that these are the steps of serious joy. This is the whole foundation of the step system that
right.
we use, and it's how I use that as a bridge, as a translator. Those steps to look at numerology, to look at astrology, to look at human design. The numbers always bring them together.
Crazy. And and so yeah, if you skip steps in your own process, And what is skipping steps? Step is like you take your total awareness and you give it to this step. So your total awareness, your whole being is focused on the boundaries, and then focused on the love, and then focused on the feelings, and then focused on the beliefs. So you're actually populating the steps to your heaven, the stairway to heaven, right? Or the serious joy. So if
So
you
I think
skip a
it'd be
step,
worth it.
you don't populate that consciousness. There's no population of it. None of you is in
I
that
think it'd
step.
be worth it for you to give an example, like because like if I'm going to manifest something so people can get in their heads, like step zero, it's like I find this new idea, and it's like protect it. Does anybody else have it? Am I the only one? Is it something that's good? Hide it out until I, like maybe go through the whole step in that
Okay,
way so
sure.
people can understand how manifestation works.
Okay, let's do it with a car. You want to buy a car.
Yeah.
You decided, I'm going to buy a car. I need a new car. Like usually it's material right now. Best for people are with material. It's easier to understand than spiritual right now. So use a material goal. So, you know, we got a loud scooter here. I want to buy a car. Okay, well, I can't afford it. I don't have this. I don't have that. All these things are like in the way, right? That's usually the case. It's an obstacle. So step zero is, all right, I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to have to save money, you know, for the down payment. So that's like save a little money out of this zero, take a little money out of that paycheck, take a little money out of that paycheck. So zero is like plotting out where am I going to take money out of the paycheck. Step zero is also like I'm going to let's go to the car dealership on Saturday. So I'm going to not book anything else. Zero, put down some boundaries. Saturday, put some zeros down. I'm going to go on Saturday. Da 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 da. I'm going to secure the loan. So I'm going to apply, knock on the door, knock on their boundaries. I'm going to knock on their boundaries, knock on their zero, fill out their application to apply, for the loan. So, zero is basically like you're creating the space and time. You're setting aside the space and time for the manifestation to happen. And you're also protecting, in the sense of, I'm not going to get my grandma's car like she wants me to give it to me. So you're going to protect things from interfering. I'm not going to take a hand down from my grandma. I'm not gonna drive my mom's. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. So all the knots you do in the very first step. You don't do knots later. You do knots now. Very beginning. What you will do and what you won't do. What are the rules? What's the timeline? I want a new car by June. So you said it's. I would say you just go without one. You'll never make the goal without a goal. Right? Without saying this is the goal at this time. At this space time, I want this by this space time. Tomorrow you can move it. You can move it anytime you want. But if you don't lay it down, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. It's in fact usually when people are like, I'm gonna try it for 4 years. Okay, and I say to them, all right, so it's been 4 years. When must it be by, or you're gonna just die if it doesn't happen? It has to be by May 1st. Boom, next 3 days it's there. Like the whole manifestation is waiting for the goddamn zero. You know what I mean? Like so, it's that's like what? Where is it? Where is it? Well, when do you want to buy? I want to buy. I want it yesterday. Well, that's not possible. What's the next date? I want to buy it this weekend. Boom, it's there. It's like, well, what happened so quick? Because you skipped step zero. I mean, like you didn't tell God when to deliver the package. So if you don't tell God when to deliver it, He's not going to override free will. Nor the angels. No one's going to override that. No one's going to interfere. So step one is okay. What kind of car? Like what's your heart want? What does your heart want? I want a blue car. I want a used car. I want a Rolls. I want this. I want this. What does my heart desire? What does my heart wish to experience? It's really what does my heart wish to experience? On this earth. So I wanted this. And when you're in step one, it's good or gooder. So it's I want this or something gooder, this or something gooder, that or something gooder, that or something gooder. And gooder is like a holding word that I created that has had no public mud on it. That basically means what I want are better, and what I want are better in terms of the sense of that I don't even know what's better. That's what gooder is. It's better than I even knew good. It's more gooder than I even knew good could be. Kind of thing. So because a lot of times you get exactly what you ask for, but God's like, too bad I had a gooder one. I had a gooder one, and you think that that's the best. So if you don't open up to unlimited possibilities, good or gooder, then you'll just get what's good. You're exactly what you asked for. When there's a good
Right.
one out there, right? Like, so after you choose all your wishes and what it should be like, or gooder, Then step two, you actually feel it. Now, this is very important, because this is where people mess up all the time. Because your emotional state of awareness is your multiplier. All right, it multiplies things. So it doesn't become big without feelings. You had a big idea, like you want to be the world's greatest electric car manufacturer. Well, I hope you're a Cancer like Elon Musk, because if you're not a Cancer like Elon Musk, you're probably gonna skip step two. Or Richard Branson, who's a Cancer. You know, so a lot of your Cancers are very wealthy. Tom Cruise is a Cancer. Like, these are extremely successful people, extremely successful, because the number two amplifies it. The more you feel it, the faster and bigger it comes. So you can spend 6 weeks on step two if you want, and every day be like, oh my God, I feel myself in that car, and I feel the look the girl gives me when I roll up, and I feel this, and I feel that, and I feel it's right around the corner, and I feel this, and it's like,
Hey, by the way, I was going to say, when you said the more you feel, that's why when people have fear of something, it dominates feeling, and that's why you attract the fear of it so quickly, right?
correct. It's
Yeah, I just want to add that.
I think feeling is really how it attracts. It's a
Yes,
vehicle in which
100%.
it's a vehicle, like the frequency is behind the feeling. So there's a frequency of the feeling, but the feeling itself is the human experience is reading the frequency. So the feeling is this biological sensation created through hormones and other gadgets that represents the size and shape of the frequency, right? The feeling is
Yeah.
like the size and shape. And my feelings are many frequencies, and my emotions are frequencies upon frequencies bouncing off of frequencies. You know, an emotion is like an electrical, it's like a thunderstorm. It's a storm of frequency. Right? Like, which is very hard to get a hold of. That's why it's hard to manage your emotions. It's easy to handle a feeling. It's one, but then feelings actually bounce off of them each other, and then they each create a third feeling. There's the feeling of them, it's like feeling me, feeling of you, feeling of us. Right? So feelings start having children all the time, and they have children, they have children, they have children. That's what trauma is. Right? They keep dividing. So that is the why it's a multiplier. So feelings are multiplier. You can't, it's very hard to feel one. Feeling two is much easier. Step two. So once there's two, you can feel it. You have to have two, because a feeling is also comparison consciousness. A feeling is always
Then
comparing
we go.
itself to something else.
Then we go on to my favorite step.
Belief. So belief, so after you feel it, you have to spend a lot of time feeling it. And I just want to give one more clue on feeling it. You feel it after it's arrived. You don't feel its arrival. It's a secret to Sensei Serious. You have to feel. So it's like, you don't feel it at the car dealership. You don't feel yourself signing the loan. You feel you at the beach 5 weeks later in the car.
So the manifestors are the ones who project themselves in their sight to a point in time where they feel like they already own it. That's the Anthony Robbins, Napoleon Hill. Project itself, feel that, get that emotion, and bring that up every time.
Correct. Because when you feel it, you are being it. And when you be it, you are changing your frequency to this result. And when you change the frequency to the result, you attract the result. Right?
Yeah.
Belief is taking that heart's desire, one, and its feelings, okay, the heart of the feelings, and putting it into an arrow, a belief. A belief is a vector, a conscious vector that has a beginning, middle, and end, which is the story structure, which is why story structure is in Sagittarius. So they're storytellers and educators. This, and this makes this. 1 + 1 makes 2. Those are vectors. That's conscious points. Those are timelines. They're mini timelines. So you basically can, really what a belief is a mini timeline. You create a micro timeline called a belief. Yeah,
Triangle, right?
yeah, that's the arrow on the head of the arrow. Yeah, that's the head of the arrow.
Yeah, and it's also the third dimension. It's the three lights of beams coming together, 1, 2, and 3, which is the timeline, which is a belief, which is reality, which is why we're
Which
here.
is it's also the third eye. I had two ways of going at step two, and I brought it to the third perspective. This one, the one that's above and centered,
Mhm.
right? The triangle. Yes, all that is true. It's funny how everything about God all fits together perfectly. There's no,
Yes.
it's like saying, fuck, like, so belief is important because the belief is the vehicle in which it will complete the course. The vehicle gets it to step 11.
Mm.
If you don't believe, you will not get there because the
Sure.
belief is what keeps it going through the steps beyond 3. It doesn't get from step 3 to step 11 without the belief that it will.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're saying, my heart feels that I believe this is for me. You're basically saying, I believe I need to be on that target. This is the target. This is what I believe. I believe humans are this, and humans are that, and men are all dogs, and women are all cats, and like so. It's like it's that belief. Now, the truth is that men are all dogs only during the course of your belief, because for me, men are pigs. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I
don't
believe
call us dogs. We're
we're
pigs.
pigs. Yeah, we pig out. We pig on this. We pig out on that. We shit where we eat. We're pigs. So I disagree. In my world, my vector is pointing towards pig, and this is where everyone's fucked up in the whole world because everyone's saying my arrow is right, your arrow is wrong. No, they're all right. That's what creation is. You have the right to create your own belief. No belief is true, but yours. But so 3 is I believe, and belief is taking your heart and your feeling and pointing to a destination, which is the target. The next step is step 4. It's the most complicated one because humans don't have real understanding of step 4 right now because it's not in
Right.
our
We're
it's nowhere in
coming
our
to it
culture.
though.
Yeah, it's nowhere in our culture. It's what 4 is basically saying it's your heart saying yes. It's your heart giving approval to the spell. Your heart is approving. The king or queen is approving, and and basically funding the spell. So at 4, your heart goes, I belong with that target, which is the king queen saying, yes, pay for that. Do it. Spend the energy. I belong there. That's what the heart's saying. My frequency is the same as that frequency. Now, this is a fail-safe to keep people from manifesting pink elephants. And we're in shit. Because if your heart doesn't endorse it, it will die. Usually on a net 4 day. God will be like, kill everything that doesn't belong. So Uranus is like bitch slaps everything that doesn't belong. So every time you have your astral day, if it doesn't belong, it becomes known to you. Warning, you're trying to create a spell that's not in alignment with your heart. Warning. This is a warning because you will lose control of the spell because you cannot control it unless your heart is tied to it. Nor can you fund it for its journey. So things that don't belong get naturally sorted by the universe every step 4 day. Right? Da-da-da, da-da-da. That's what Uranus does. So step 4 is I belong. I belong with that destination. I do. It's in my soul. Right? Versus I want it because I'll look cool. That's not belonging. You know what I mean? Like that's materialism. So, materialism and belonging are different things. If you belong with a Mercedes Benz, it's not material. It's a spiritual request you're making. If you want one to look good, that you're a materialist. See the difference? It's like you're just in it for the money. Step 5 is the mind accepting the spell. The mind goes, I think it's going to be this Mercedes, or I think not. Right? Now the part about step 5 is if you have in your mind a lot of knots, your thoughts are all knotted up because you said not no to too many things instead of saying yes to the right things. So a lot of people spend their life doing no, 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 no. Right. So if you're just saying no, 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 well then one of your belongings is going to get stuck in one of those knots, get tied up in one of those knots. So that's why positive thinking is good. Because positive thinking is not full of knots, right? It's full of it is. It's all ises. So if your step 4 belief hits a brain full of ises, your mind will be right on board with this and have no objections. If you're full of knots, then your mind is confused as to whether or not you deserve it, whether or not it's for you, whether or not your father would agree, because of all the knots, it's like, well, what about this? Or what about this? You're basically saying to yourself, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. Because the mind keeps butting in to your intention. So this is where people mostly live is at step 5. most manifestations don't make it out of step 5. I say 80% can't get past 5. In my experience. So that means they just spend their life confused. Well, how will I pay for it? But how will I pay for it? But how will I finance a loan? But now, by the way, I have no idea how I'm going to pay for this new car. I have no idea at this point. At this point, I can be poor. I can be in the projects. I can be as low as it looks. When I say I want a new car, my heart feels and believes and belongs with it. So this is all before you even have any idea, guys, how you're going to pay for it or how it's going to come, because you don't have to know. That's not even your job. Your job is to know what you want in this order of consciousness. So your mind goes, yep, I think this is right. I think this is the target. I think everything in my mind is agreed. There's no knots. I'm not knotting up this spell. And so great. Then 6 is the heart now, once again endorsing. So see how many times the heart comes in? Comes to step 1, step 4, and step 6. So the heart goes, basically what happens is the spell must now feel, so think of a teeter-totter. You've got like this spell going out. The spell has got to be equal weight as the self. It has to be equal to the self. So if the spell throws the self off, it'll be hard to accept, right? So what you're doing in step 6 is you are accepting this back to the heart. Your heart is accepting the terms and conditions of the deal, right? So it's like, I accept this. Yes, I accept it. So most people accept that their mind is right. That's it. They're not really accepting steps 1 through 4, 0 through 4. They're accepting like, yeah, this is a good idea. Yeah, I think I'll do it. Yeah. So they're only accepting step 5. They don't accept step 4, step 3, step 2, step 1, and step 0. They don't accept the terms and conditions, step 0. They just kind of like stop there. So 6 is that you got to balance the equation. And so 6 basically is like, basically 6, 5 is the link between the bottom inner self, and the outer self. So 5 is like from 5 on, it goes to the outer self. Okay. From step 6, it's actually in the outer self, your relationships, how you relate. You only relate to other things than you. So 6 is your relationships, how you relate to the outer world. You're now outside yourself. And so what 6 does is bring yourself and the outer world into a fulcrum, a balancing act. At that point, you're now balancing yourself and the world. And so if something in you doesn't accept the terms of the deal, then the other side of the scale is not going to work out either. So you have to be accepting everything about yourself. You have to accept what you're putting on the scale. So you accept it. Yes, my heart knows this is it. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it, but I know this is it. Step 7 is okay, do I sense this is correct? Now, sensing correct is sending an email off to your higher self. Hey, higher self, I've got this idea to get a new Mercedes. Is that in the plans, or is that not in the plans? Like, we checked the Akashic record. What did I promise when I went up there, right? And so higher self be like, no, you. In that timeline, you died in a fiery car crash. You don't want that. That's not the timeline you want. Don't do it. Don't do it. Right? Higher self says, don't do it. So you don't know how to talk to your higher self. So you drive home and there's the Mercedes you want on fire. You get home and you find out that Mercedes is filing bankruptcy. But you still don't get it. Like the higher self's like, don't do it, right? So, or higher self is like, there are no knots. Higher self never says yes. It always says there's no no's. Does that make sense? There's no knots. So sometimes higher self will say no knots, but highly encourage, highly recommend. They'll highly recommend, at least for me, highly recommend, or they'll tell you no, or they'll just say neutral. I get a neutral, like in nothing. Nothing means like you're good to go. There's limited discussion about that because they don't want to influence your free will. So they want to tell you if it's like bad or like really, really good. Like usually the really good is like, we're proud of you. Like it's like, we're really proud of you. Like, wow. It's like it's really a pride. They're proud of me. They're not saying it's like the right choice. They're saying we're proud of you, your choice making. Really, this is what's happening. So 7 is once it goes to 7, which is that spirit has approved it. And sometimes spirit doesn't approve too because of if I'm going to do something that's going to hurt other people, I get a knot at 7. Like, no, 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 you don't want to do that. Your wife's going to end up dead or something. Like, something bad's going to happen. Like, no, no, no. They're looking out for you like something you're not going to, a consequence you're not going to want. Which, by the
Hmm.
way, means there's another way, there's another car. Like
Yeah.
you're not saying no, they're saying not this way. It's never no, it's not yet, or not this way. But it's never
We
no.
come
God
up
never
against
said.
that a lot at Human Garage. We come up against that a lot. Sometimes we get into, like, we were going to an event last year. It was in Egypt, and we got to 7, and it's like some senses that this ain't gonna happen. Everything else was already there, and then we pulled out, and 2 months later, when it happened, that was when the war broke out. So,
Ah,
so that's a really powerful time to actually check in and see if it actually makes sense, because a lot of times I find people are so rigidly committed to the manifestation that they ignore their sensations at that point.
because they're unaware of the truth. The truth is, you will get it.
Yeah.
You will always get it. Always. If it's something really big, it takes like many lives. So don't be arrogant and think you're going to get something like rule the world in the first wish. Like that's not going to happen, and it probably won't be this world. You have to be transferred to another planet because we just don't have that available on Earth anymore, right?
Right.
But if you really want to rule the world, then it's going to take a while. You've asked for a really big thing that takes a lot of coordination and a lot of time. It's not going to happen as fast as you want it to. Sorry, but you will have it.
Hmm.
Not only will you have it, now
Hmm.
you have to have it because whenever you ask yourself, when your heart wishes, it attaches, and once it's attached, you have to do it. So you have to be careful. You say what you wish for, out loud. So then comes step 8.
Hmm.
Do you commit? Right? Do you commit? Do I commit? Do I decide and commit? When you decide and commit, a decide is an incision. An incision, decision is a death. Homicide, fratricide, decide. It's a death. It's the death of everything else and the keeping alive of what you're going to do. So you kill off all of the
That's
options.
interesting. Never heard it that way. Homicide, retricide, genocide, decide.
De-
That's an interesting. Never caught that one before.
yeah, it kills off. It's so how God keeps the economy running. You've got to, you can't, you have to let go of everything else if you want to make something happen. Because if you want to make something happen, it's to take all of you, right? A lot of people don't decide. You know, the magic dies right there. They didn't decide. You didn't decide and commit. It's going to happen. You got to decide. It's going to happen. You decide it is. Do you decide it's going to happen?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if it's going to happen. How can I decide? You're not ready. I mean,
Yeah.
like you're not ready. So you decide, which means you kill off all other things but it. Only it exists. It's like a number 8. It's not really infinity. It's 2 zeros. You decide this goes and this stays. Top 0 stays.
Yeah.
Bottom 0 goes. Step 9.
Yeah.
This is another important one. So step 9 is okay. Now go. Now get off your fat ass and do something, kid. You got to put the spell into motion. You have to put the spell into motion. That's another failsafe God does. Laziness has helped the world so much because that fat ass shooter will not get off the couch. More people are alive. You know what I mean? Like, because they just wouldn't try. So this is what the people who try do, because like people like me who's in that 9, I try and try and try and try and try and try. And in the old days, I would happen to try where like 4 out of the 8 steps are done. So when I tried, boom, went right to manifestation. Made me think that trying is all that matters at the time, you know. But
Right.
like if you have enough steps in place and you try, you'll make it happen. It'll happen, right? Step 9 is putting it into motion. Putting it into motion means it's now causing effect. It's causing effect. So you're making a cause. A cause is something that makes everything else move. So when I cause myself to enter in the room loudly, the people who are upset to sound are affected. They have to move. You know, things have to move because I created this cause. So cause creates
Right.
movement, right? Cause creates movement. Then you're in the motion of it. So you're in motion from that point on. You're in motion. That arrow has made flight, to use the arrow. The arrow's been like, poof. So the bow releases the arrow at 9. Okay. So when the arrow's in flight, flight, which means it's in motion, or the spell's in motion. This is where your energy has to love and protect the arrow.
Right.
Okay.
Because this is when all the other offers come in. Hey, you sure you want that? You might have wanted this job. You might have wanted this other car. The other car dealer calls you back and say, "Hey, I just got you approved on that loan I couldn't get you approved on."
Right. And that's where the heart's going, hey, heart, how about this one for a Pinto? No, protect. How about this? Your mother gives you her car. No, protect. How about this? So your heart's going yes or no, protect, yes or no. Your heart's saying yes or no, protect, or yes, bring down the walls, let that sperm in. Let's make a baby. You know what I mean? So it's that. Now, love and protect is most people don't protect. And they don't love either. They stop loving. You're also protecting the love. Well, maybe I'm not meant to have a car. What? Is one 9 steps. What do you mean you're not meant to have it? Your heart adores 3 of them. What are you talking about? Like, oh, I don't know if I'm worth it. Oh, Jesus. That's what 10 is self-worth. It's like, oh, Jesus, you're not going to be worth it until you love yourself over time and protect it. Then you're worth something. If you can't love yourself over time, you ain't worth shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Loving yourself over time is what makes you better. That's it. So you have to love yourself over time. How much time, Sensei? As long as it takes. So, I mean, like I've had bills in Congress stuck at step 10 for years. You know what I mean? Like it's a step 10 still loving it. Oh, I'm still like every day, like oh, keep it going. Get that arrow flying. Well, I have some arrows that like are going like across the universe. Like you have some big arrows, man. This mission is
Thank you
one
for that.
hell of an arrow. Yeah, yeah. So I got some long. I got some arrows that are going like flight. So 10. So then 10, 11 is when you reach the target. You know, that's when the spell becomes real. Yeah. Step 11. That's when the 1 attracts something as a reflection of the 1. And you know it because you feel it. Step 2. You feel it.
That's
You feel it.
why 29 degree. That's why, as we were talking earlier, 29 degree. It's like you're pushing the envelopes and the boundaries. You're bringing it into reality with 2 plus 9
11.
is 11. That's 1 and 1, and also 1 plus 1 happens to be into 2, which should be to caregive for the world.
29 is like this. It's very cocky. It's like I can do it in 2 numbers.
Yeah, that was me.
nine and
Yeah,
2, baby. So,
all the manifestations that are on the ash heaps of capitalism that failed that I know now I look back at. I when I learned your step system, I went back to actual things, businesses that failed, and I tracked down the steps. I'm like, oh damn, I missed step 5.
yeah.
I missed step 6 because I went right from 3, I believe, to 9, I act.
Yeah, 29 doesn't usually work without the precursors. I mean, you're not a real 29 really if you don't do all the steps prior to it. But like, when a lifeguard jumps in the water to save a kid, he goes from 0 to 29, or she does.
Yeah.
Like, acting on their feelings, acting on their feelings. I feel he's drowning. Sprint faster. I feel this is happening. Do that. Like, it's act on feelings, act on feelings, act on feelings. Like, that's all it is. It's like, until you either save him 11 or you don't. So we can jump to 29, and we do jump to 29 when we're in fight or flight. We do. We jump to 29. Like, It's just acting on your feelings. When you are an Olympic ice skater, you're just 29ing, acting on your feelings, acting on your feelings, acting on your feelings. There's no time for thought or the other steps. You're acting on your feelings. So when you're a master typist, you're a master anything. You're a grandmaster at anything. You don't have time to process 0 through 28. But you practice in your whole life over and over again. So it's like
So
burned to your retinas. It's like
when it comes, yeah, you know how to take that 2 to a 29.
you just you're just 29 the whole time. And we all 29 it when we're performing. When I'm
Yeah.
on camera, I'm 29ing it. So 29 is performance. It is, so it's not, it's not out of reach for people. We hit it all the time. By accident, prematurely. If you really have great sex, you're at 29, so you're in 29 all the time. Someone like Garry has said their whole life is dedicated to it. And if your whole
Yeah.
life is dedicated to it, then you're going to probably shape the world because that's a lot of power to always be running at that number.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you only need 2 and a 9 to start a fire.
It's been interesting because there's been a lot of shifts in me lately, and especially with this last full moon. It was funny because we did an event yesterday, and it was the first time where I just said, "Okay, I'm done." And because normally I just go until everybody's taken care of. And it was bizarre because I'm like, is it because I'm really tired? No, I've done it before. Is it because we're in this special place? No, I think it's the astrologies where I'm actually just saying, because that's what's happening right now. I'm saying, no, enough's enough. I'm taking care of myself now. And I haven't done that. I don't think I've ever really done that. Or I haven't done, if I have done that, I felt
Me
guilty about it.
too. Me too. We're in the same boat, buddy. I mean, well, first of all, I had a reading from the Palladians that came through, my friend Wendy. And then they said the reason why you're not manifesting faster is because you're not enjoying it. And I was like, ah, fuck. They're like, yeah,
Yeah,
because they're
dude,
like,
I
they're
get that.
because
I
really
get that.
people aren't really showing up for what you teach. They're showing up because they enjoy
I
watching you enjoy something. I was like, huh,
and I get that, and
huh.
I'm now, this last year has been the first time that I can say, since I've been in healthcare or body care, it's the first time this last year where I really enjoyed it. The rest of it was kind of like climbing up a hill. When I get there, it'll be okay, and when I get there, it'll be good. But I really enjoyed it, and you could see the difference. Like, you could see the difference in the people coming at us, the speed at which things are happening. It's been wonderful.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like how do I know I'm in joy? Because every morning I wake up and I'm excited to wake up. Whereas before I woke up and I'm like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this.
Yes. Um, you know, because in joy is to be in joy. You are in joy. So simple, so obvious. And if you're in
Serious.
joy,
I'm in serious joy.
serious joy is like your eyes are rolled in the back of your head. But in joy means that you are, after it's manifesting, you're going back to the heart with it.
Yeah.
You're feeding the heart back. The heart gets fed when you're in joy.
Yeah,
I made
and,
it.
it's reduced my tiredness,
Mhm.
and it's accelerated my anti-aging. I don't know if I told you, but I got a biological age test that had me at 30, and I got a blood test and it said my cells were that of an 8-year-old because they're uniform in shape, and they go, "Whoa, we've never actually seen this before."
Mm. So this is behavior around 8 years old. Just kidding.
Yeah,
Um, just kidding. Uh,
I'm behaving like an
yeah,
8-year-old. Saturn.
yeah. Eight's the bossy year, the bossy child year. I'm gonna do step astrology for for parents. It's like, and just talking about how each year is like based on the step, the child. Um,
Yeah, hey, listen, in our children's and parents group, that'd be a great place if you want. You do
launch
that,
it.
record it. We'd actually host it in the education program
Great.
because I think that's really valuable for people to know.
Oh,
Because
it
they
is
ask
for
me
parents. I mean,
questions all,
yeah.
sorry, they ask me questions all the time, and I'm like, "How old's your child?" "Oh, your child's steps, age 6," and yeah, he's just receiving. Don't worry, like, this is what he was giving out. This is what he's getting back. It's gonna come together.
hmm hmm Yeah, that's the root intention of the year. So, like, my root intention this year is 6. And I have to say, as I'm coming up to it, because I turned 52 in May, so I'll be 7. I'll be
And that's why you told me that this was my year, because my root intention this year is 11.
yes, because it matches your step number. So when the
Yeah,
root intention
isn't
is
that
the same,
amazing?
yeah, when the root intention is the same as your step number, um, it's a major. I mean, that as far as the timeline is concerned, a major achievement was supposed to be made by then, right? Um,
Yeah, that's interesting.
right, and so
Interesting.
and
Interesting.
this year has been a 6. In fact, I'm going to talk about all the decades because from 0 to 10, 0 to 9, you're just worried about your safety. Then from 10 to 19, you're just worried about your heart wants. And then from 20 to 29, you're just worried about how you feel. You're whiny babies. Everyone in their 20s are whiny babies. And then from step 30 to step 30 to step 39. Well, I believe this and I believe that, and I believe people are, I believe children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Like that's what I believe. So step 4 is like, oh shit, I don't belong here. I don't belong in this marriage. I don't belong on this job. I don't belong here. It's like step four is like the breakdown. You're like, fuck, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. I don't belong anywhere. Oh, it's like midlife crisis. No, we don't belong. I don't belong. And then step five is like, I think I'm starting to get this. I think this is starting to work. Like in your 50s. So, yeah. So this year, finally, my mind's back on board. Like my mind is
Yeah.
finally agreeing with me. So it's great. Finally, thank you,
Hey, Chris,
mind. We're over time.
I'm glad we took the time to do this today, because I think this one people are gonna follow back and listen to. These are the steps of manifestation, the steps of serious joy. I want people to listen and learn, and this is why things look like they work out so good for us, because we use this system.
We do.
And I want people to understand that the step system allows me to integrate everything, every other system in the world. I just bring back to the step numbers, and it makes sense to me.
Yeah. It'll make sense to you too. If it doesn't make sense, don't do it. That's simple. And watch us laugh. No, I'm kidding. Bye, Gary. We love you, everyone.
Okay, Chris,
See you Thursday.
take care.
Bye bye.
See ya.